I understand you recently did a TED Talk.
Yeah, that was real fun.
What was that on? What was the subject?
The students are driving the creative machine in universities. They saw me play and they said, "Oh, we got to bring you in, and all we want you to do." I said, "What am I going to talk about? I've got so many things that I do." He said, "You have 16 minutes. I don't know if you know TED Talks. It's 16 minutes and that's it. I love that. To talk about what you do." I was like, "Oh my God, I got to make a cohesive, clear statement about it." So I was able, they gave me an opportunity to go through the arc of my family and my brother, believe it or not, my older brother is a great violin teacher and performer of our family string quartet, studied at Oberlin Conservatory. He built motorcycles in our bedroom.
Huh.
Okay, and where's the connection here, Mark, with that? Okay, so my brother, three of my brothers and I were in one room with two bunk beds all through high school. And my brother's motorcycles were leaking oil into the floor, but they were drag motorcycles. I don't know if you know about dragsters, right?
Yeah, yeah.
They weren't road bikes. It was this far off the ground, and the engine was the most beautiful roar. If you ever heard drag motorcycles or cars.
Yeah, yeah.
So my distortion sound of my violin was more influenced by the mufflers of my brother's motorcycle than Jimi Hendrix. But that was a critical moment to see that linkage of my family.
No kidding. Wow, this is...
So the TED Talk has a picture. So if you go to Markwood TED Talk, I don't know if you had a chance to see it. There's a picture of my brother with his motorcycle, and then I jumped to Leonard Bernstein right after the motorcycle. So you can imagine my brain waves, the way I function as a creative person. I really don't think of myself as a musician. I think of myself as a creative entrepreneur. And when I speak at colleges to graduates, right now, funny enough, after my teacher died at Juilliard, who refused to allow me, "You will never return. You're not allowed back here." Luckily, he passed away. And I'm now a mentor at Juilliard to graduates at Juilliard School with doctorates who are going to graduate Juilliard, right? And the first question I ask them is, raise your hand if you want to make a living.
Huh.
And they're all looking at me, "Mark, we just spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on lessons and and Juilliard. What do you mean make a living?" I said, "You got to be able to make a living at playing your oboe, bassoon, or marimba somehow." And I was able to figure out a way creatively to think out of the box and as an entrepreneur. You are not a musician, really. You're an entrepreneur. You have to sell yourself to somebody who will give you money to do what you love to do.
That's a real problem in colleges everywhere, colleges and universities, where they'll coach you up, but the one thing they don't talk about is just that. It's making a living. And you may get a few classes, but it's not on the level that you need it to be in order to be a successful musician. Not even successful, making a living.
Right. And Bobby, remember, we're in the 21st century. We're not in the 18th century. And also remember, in the 1930s and 40s, from the immigration from Europe during World War II and World War I, we had orchestras on every street corner. We had the greatest orchestras of the New York Philharmonic, conducting by Mahler himself, conducted by the greatest musicians, composers, Aaron Copland. And all of a sudden, jazz came in. And didn't have much association with classical music. Jazz became a very big force with Miles Davis, John Coltrane, all these great artists, where Juilliard, Curtis, and all the great conservatories had no clue how to integrate that with classical training. So they avoided that until Wynton Marsalis came in, of course, and runs the jazz program. But the jazz program at Juilliard does have no string players. That's another story and another issue. So the educational thing, and Bobby, as we're watching the culture now, colleges and universities are still not, forget about music, technology development, AI. If you're not trained in that, "Oh, but I got a degree in physics in some obscure subject." you're not going to get a job.
Yeah. Yeah.
The percentage of graduates from universities as opposed to graduates from high school into job training is really shifting now. And we go into colleges and high schools saying, wait a second, I know you're not going to be a musician as a career, but music is still critically important for brain development, emotional intelligence, creative intelligence. Steve Jobs played an instrument. Great leaders, Albert Einstein played the violin. So we really sell and talk about the message to the parents, administrators, and to the community that music is critical, but global styles it cannot be a narrow training. You have to be able to fiddle a little bit, because for $100, you can fiddle for 1 hour at a church or something, and you get paid for that. Yeah, but I don't fiddle. I play classical music. Well, that narrows your opportunity. So that's really what we're working on.
I'm going to ask you this because just in our brief conversation here, I know you think outside the box. What's your opinion on AI music?
Yes, and that's a very interesting topic, Bobby. And I saw an interesting example on YouTube a couple of weeks ago. An average person, this musician, played an AI-generated vocally, lyrics, musically, to a nobody person walking in the street. And they would go, what do you think of this new artist? They would listen to it, go, wow, who is this? And they say, it's AI. But I really like the song. So so the mainstream public always has not the kind of training that we have as musicians. In fact, but I listen to it, and if I was just sort of walking down the street, sort of hearing in the background, it wouldn't click to me as AI. But I think that the music industry has to be more responsible for this, number one. And equally, as you know, the music industry dropped the ball about 20 years ago. There's no music industry anymore. The royalties, making records, you're not making a living. But I will tell you that when I go see my favorite band live, I'm not seeing AI. I'm seeing a living person. So you're seeing the tour revenue is the highest it's ever been. And then you've got these tribute bands. I just saw the great band Kansas, and they no longer have original members in it. It was with Foreigner, no original members, but sold out concerts. So it's a real interesting shift that we're watching, but unfortunately, the challenge really is for the next Billy Joel, who's 15 years old, piano player, the next Robert Plant, the next Jimmy Page. They might end up working for Apple computers and not having a career in music, and it's heartbreaking. So I'm hoping that we're able to shift the focus from how to get rid of the musicians to how to integrate it and financially sustainable.
We could go down that rabbit hole and talk for hours, I'm sure. But let me ask you this, Mark. What don't people know about you that you wish they did?
That's a tough one, because I am so proud, and you're probably similar in that you're a creative thinker. We live in the clouds, and I love living in the clouds. So when I was in elementary school and junior high school, my teachers would always yell, Mark, why are you staring out the window and staring at that cloud for an hour? And I would really have no idea. And music is constantly in my head. So I have never had a job. I've never worked for anybody. I've always been self-made. My grandfather was Henry Ford's architect in 1914 as a 25-year-old without any school education. And my father never went to school. They all were taught at some place called the library and the New York Times. They read the New York Times, and they were just incredible, brilliant people, self-made. So I'm an example of self-made. And I think that that's something that I would love to share and encourage. It's 24/7. I work 24/7. So it's not like, oh, how easy is it? Oh, it's not easy at all, especially in this day and age. So self-made, my grandfather, my father, all my uncles, were self-made from the early 1900s. So I really believe that. But my brothers all work for people that they give them a paycheck, and God bless them. I love it. Thank God they get a paycheck. But my brother's orchestra, he was a principal cellist of an orchestra that were around for 50 years, just went bankrupt. That paycheck is gone. So now what? I can teach. My brother was like, well, I need to generate more energy. So I had to really create something my own.